Greetings and salutations to the fellow Fam Squad reader pops. So, in honor of Fam Squad, gotta do the little clap. But I am here to present you guys with my 2024 reading wrapped. So, I read over 100 books. The exact total is 107. So, I am going to tell you which ones are worth it. So, out of those 107 books, I read 39,986 pages. My average rating was 4.7 stars, and it took me an average of 2.6 days to read these books. Also, I apologize for my stuffy nose. So, start with our charts. In January, I read 3 books. February, I read 7. March, I read 8. April, I read 3. May, I read 5. June, I read 10. July, I read 14. August, I read 14. September, I read 3. October, I read 13. November, I read 14. And December, I read 13 books. Out of those, majority of them are romance. So, out of the tropes, the number one was A Tie Between Friends to Lovers and Second Chance. Also, some other ones in here. Enemies to Lovers was pretty high. So was Childhood Friends to Lovers. Second Chance Romance was high. And then these are just like 1 or 2. But I will put, blow up these on the actual video so you can see them better than just my computer screen. Book owners, most of them were library copies. I have the pleasure of being in a big city now that I'm in college, and there is a big library there. It is wonderful, so I got most of my books from the library. Also, a lot of them were mine, some of them were Mariah's, some of them were my old teachers and my grandma's. There was 2 Kindle books and a couple audiobooks. And then book types. So I said a lot of them were romance, but actually only 40%. So that's roughly about 40 books of romance-ish. 21.5% of them were fiction. Historical fiction and thriller tied at about 10%. And then less than 5% were dystopian, autobiography, mystery, and nonfiction. So the books themselves, I have my top 3 favorites and everything else. So my top 3 favorites were Abby Jimenez, Yours Truly. That was an incredible book. I was laughing, I was crying. It was just so good. I want to read it again. Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid was my second favorite. That was also an amazing one because my favorite quote is in another life, yada yada yada, this would have happened. And Taylor Jenkins Reid is my favorite author, so that was a very good book. And then also The Silent Patient by Alex, I don't know how to say that last name, Michaelis? That's a pretty popular one. It's more thriller. These 2 were romance. That's a thriller book. This book was incredible. I literally still think about it to this day. Such a good plot twist. I literally did not see that coming at all. And then my favorite series this year was the Finley Donovan series. That one's kind of mystery, kind of thriller, mostly just fiction. But there is some twists in there. It's really good. I also read that when I was doing The Sound of Music over the summer, so it's just tied with being in the play. It just got great memories attached to it, so that's why it's my favorite. Divergent series, I'm very late to that party because when I was little, I loved dystopian books, but I literally only read The Hunger Games, so now I'm trying to catch up and read other dystopian stuff, The Maze Runner is on my TBR for this year, so yeah, read Divergent, that was good, that's why it's at number 2. And then number 3 is Elaine Hildebrand's Winter in Paradise series. That's a little trilogy, I wouldn't really call it a series, but it was, part of it was set in Iowa, so it was very relatable, and I literally loved it. It was so good. And I also love Elaine Hildebrand books. They're very, 40-year-old, wine mom coded, but I eat them up every time. Most anticipated release was If Only I Had Told Her, my favorite book of all time, If He Had Been With Me. That was the sequel to that. My second favorite book of all time is 1,000 Boy Kisses, and 1,000 Broken Pieces is the second one. So those were great. Those both came out this year. Very exciting. I'm actually getting a tattoo with Mariah, matching the 2 ones for those. And then Nothing Like the Movies is Better Than the Movie sequel, which is also in my top 5 favorite books, so absolutely ate that up, loved those. Lengths, the shortest book I read was Defense Never Rests by Craig A. Parton. That was like more of like a church one. I kind of counted it as a Bible study, but it was like an actual book, so I counted it for reading. That was 171 pages. And then the longest book I read this year was A Little Life by Hanya Yanagari. That was 816 pages, and that is still to this day the longest book that I've ever read. So, and then average number of pages that like were in all the books that I read was 368. So, authors, my top one this year was Elaine Hildebrand. I read a lot of her books. Number 2 was Taylor Jenkins Reid, and number 3 was Elle Cosmino. And Elle Cosmino wrote the Finley Donovan series, so that's why that one's still up there. But the other two are like pretty regular. They're always on my top artists or top. This is not Spotify Rap. My top authors. Format, 96 of them were physical, which checked out considering the amount of books I read in the library. 9 of them were audiobooks, and I got a Kindle for Christmas, so then the last 2 books I read this year were on the Kindle. Now it's time for my monthly favorites. So these are like the books that I will be recommending, that I loved, that I like absolutely want people to read. So let's get into it. January, Iron Flame. If you have not read the Fourth Wing series, then you definitely aren't on Book Talk, because that is like the biggest Book Talk one. But I have both of them. And there's another one coming out, I believe, next year. So like in 2026. But that was the second one to the Fourth Wing series. Super great. Rebecca Yarros also has like really great like non-dragon related content, so like love her. She's a great author. And then A Little Life was my other favorite one. This one, you have to be like a certain type of person to read it. I would not recommend this to anyone because it is genuinely the saddest book that I've ever read. It's super heavy. There is literally no happy parts. It's just 800 pages of this poor guy going through like the worst things imaginable. So if you want to read it, go for it. I probably wouldn't recommend it, but I liked reading it. I didn't like reading it, but like, I don't know. It's on this list because it's a good book. Anyways, moving on. February, If Only I Had Told Her, is obviously the sequel. So If Only He Had Been With Me is from the girl's point of view, Autumn, and my cat is literally named after Autumn. And Finney has like a point of view in this, and then it's also like afterwards, like after the first book, there's stuff from like his best friend's point of view and then Autumn's point of view again. So it's a really great book. And then The Overnight Guest by Heather. I really need to stop going at these like these author names. I'm not gonna get them. Anyways, this was also set in Iowa, and it's a local author, I believe, too, but that was a really good book. Like the twist was good. It's a thriller book. So it was low-key scary. Like I was clutching my pearls while reading it. It was good. March, Carrie Sato is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a book about tennis, and it inspired both of my tennis eras this year. So it's a really great book. Loved that. And then Kristen Hanna, The Four Winds. I believe this is my first Kristen Hanna book, but I absolutely love her. Her books are so good. They're all like historical fiction, and I read 3 of her books, and I'm pretty sure all of them made it to like my top list. But yeah, great book. April, Lilac Girls is a book about the Holocaust. It's by Martha Hall Relly. Super great book. That one has been on my TBR for like a really long time because I actually did a report on that, like not on this specific book, but about like the Ravensbrück Bunnies, I believe, in sophomore year. So like this book was on my TBR for so long and I finally read it. But yeah. Anyways, and then The Gifted School by Bruce Holsinger is just like another like rich wine mom drama book, but I liked that. And then May, Emily Henry's new book, Funny Story. I'm sure you've heard of it if you're on Book Talk. That was a super cutesy little romance. And then Jennifer Weiner's Big Summer was like a romance, but like it was also a mystery. Like there was a murder that happened, and it was super interesting. It was really giving Elaine Hildebrand, The Perfect Couple. If you haven't heard that, that also got turned into a show. So love that. June, another Kristen Hanna book. This one's about the Holocaust. The last one, Four Winds, I forgot to mention, that was about like the Great Depression and like that kind of era. And then also Maybe Another Life. I already talked about that one, but that is a romance. July, I read 1,000 Broken Pieces. That was a sequel to 1,000 Boy Kisses, so that one is from her sister's point of view from like the first book. And then I read Jeanette McCurdy's memoir. I read a lot of memoirs this year, actually, but Jeanette McCurdy's was super good. Super sad. I really feel for her, but I'm glad that I finally read it. And then August, I reread all of my favorite books, but the ones that I really liked rereading were Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid and then 28 Summers by Eileen Hildebrand. So those are just both really good, near and dear to my heart. So I was glad that I was able to read those again. And if you want to look at all my favorite books, there's a video up about it. It's 45 minutes long, but it's still really good, I promise. And then September, I literally only read 3 books, and 2 of them were for classes, and the other one was a classic book, and I'm not a huge classic book person, so none of the books that I read in September made it onto my favorites list, honestly. October, The Silent Patient, we already talked about that, and then Sally Hepworth's Darling Girls was super good. That was a mystery, and it was really good. Oh my gosh, I'm saying that about every single book, but I promise it was really good. And I also didn't see that twist coming at all. And it's very much Verity coded. If you've heard of Verity, you have to figure out if you are trusting the author's point of view or the character's point of view, and you just gotta figure out which one you trust. Oh my gosh, it was really good. November, I read Nothing Like the Movies. Again, we already talked about that one. And then Winter in Paradise, we also already talked about that one too. So read those in November. They were great. And then in December, I read Abby Jimenez's Yours Truly. Again, I love that book. That was my favorite book of the whole year. It was incredible, and I want to read it again. I want to buy it and annotate it, and just it was so good. It's definitely making it on my top 20. And then One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. That one also got turned into a movie, so I watched that. And that book was really good. I still can't tell if I agree with the ending or not, or if I wanted it to go another way. So it's another one of those books where you gotta choose teams. So yeah. And then I've got some honorable mentions. Every Last Word is about a girl with OCD, and that one was really good. I think it's young adult fiction, but it was also still really good. And then Abby Jimenez, amazing author. I'm so glad I got into her this year. I want to read more of her books, but literally every single library that I'm a part of, they're all on hold for months. So, but that was also super good. I read that while I was at camp, so loved that. And then the Little Paris Bookshop was super cute. It was very music and book coded, and it made me just want to go to Paris. So, and then Tom Lake by Anne Patchett. I'm sorry, I haven't been saying the authors on these, but I listened to the Spotify audiobook version, and it was read by Meryl Streep, and it was so good. And it was about an actress too, so I was oh my gosh, Meryl Streep was perfect for that. And then the Soulmate Equation and True Love Experiments are a duology, so they go together, but they're both by Christina Lauren. I loved them. They were just cute little romance books with a twist, so it was really good. And then the Housemaid series, I wanted to include that on my top 3, but I liked the other ones just a little bit more. But the first Housemaid book had me absolutely shook, and the other ones were also super good, but that first one was incredible, and I believe this is getting turned into a movie or a TV or something. Yeah, so those are the books that I recommend reading. If you want me to go into depth about any of them, just let me know, because I will. Or if you want any more specific what are they called? Oh my gosh. If you want any more specific book recs, just let me know. I got you. So here's my goals. My goals for this year were to read most of my Goodreads TBR, read at least 75 books, book journal, keep up with records, Bookstagram, and convert to Kindle. So I read a lot of my Goodreads TBR, but not all of them, which would be pretty hard because I add to them all the time. I did read at least 75 books. I started a book journal this year, 2025, but I didn't start it in 2024, so it doesn't get counted with that goal. I did keep up with my records. I kind of kept active on my Bookstagram. I'm going to try to get more into that. That one is called @LocalReaderPop. If you just go to my main Instagram, then it's tagged in the bio. And then convert to the Kindle, I did do that, but not until the end of the year. So my goals for 2025 are, again, to read most of my Goodreads TBR. I want to read at least 100 books. I always set it at 75, but I've exceeded it the last 2 years, so I'm going for higher this year. Convert to Kindle, obviously already doing that. I did start a book journal. There's a little video of it on my TikTok if you want to check it out. I want to stop abandoning my Bookstagram because I keep like posting on it and then it'll like stop for a couple months and then I'll be like, hey guys, I'm back, and then I'm not back. And then Unabandoned Project MJ, more will come out about that later, but that is a collaboration with one of my friends and it's super good and I can't wait for that. So again, stay tuned. And yeah, that's it. So thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe and comment. Follow me and Mariah on everything. And I love you guys. Jesus loves you. Have a great day. The end.